At one point in our life, we come into a crossroad where we need to make a decision. Hey, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And then all of these opportunities start showing up, maybe with a healer, with a therapist, retreat. And then when you start to do all this work and you start to reprogram and rewire your brain and your body and your cells, and you start to understand that you're not your parents or how you grew up, you become and develop your own identity. And then you start to choose. You start to choose how you want to live. So you start living in peace. I think that's the key.
That is so beautiful, because I feel a lot of people don't realize that they are disconnected from themselves, or they've abandoned themselves, or also they're not living their truth because they're living for someone else.
Wake to your own life, like understanding the speed of your conversation and the speed of your behavior, slowing down to see how that speed is going and what you're doing within that speed so your destiny can shift, living in integrity. It's knowing that my words also match what I do in my life and how I live it.
Welcome back to the SageFull Living Podcast. We're joined here today with Joyce Haddad of She CEO and Spiritual Divorce Modality. We're going to get into a lot today with Joyce. She's going to help us understand entanglement, as well as a lot of other things in this business and healing world. So welcome, Joyce, to the SageFull Living Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Susan. It is a pleasure to come and share wisdom with your wisdom and share information to all the people watching. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you.
Hey,
So let's start first with your past. What led you to be where you are today?
So I was born in Venezuela, okay, but I came to the US, specifically to Miami, when I was 5 years old. My father was Syrian, Middle Eastern, my mother Italian background. And so I come from this eclectic mix of cultures. I grew up in a very strict household, and I started here in Miami from kindergarten. And I grew up in this beautiful city that has taught me a lot. And my father was very authoritarian. So I did grow up in a very strict household that pushed me to my limits, basically. It made me who I am today, but through different abusive patterns of, like, maybe a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of physical abuse, just because of the way he was, how he grew up.
Yeah.
I'm not here to blame anyone. Actually, I honor him very much for his teachings, but that was my life. And that's what made me who I am today, through these entanglements that I had to go through. And my mother being completely opposite to the authoritarian lifestyle, which is a submissive and very silencing and very entangled within her. And so I grew up with both behaviors. We are built, our personality is built through our environment, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we watch. And as a result, that became Joyce for a very long time, entangled, stuck, limited, and not really understanding who I truly was until, I would say, I blew up. But it's not that I blew up, it's that I went through that dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know what that is, it's just a moment where you hit rock bottom and you have to see yourself. It's like that moment where you really need to look in and say, okay, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling. What's next for me? What's next for me? And so that's how my life started, between feeling very stuck, limited, and trapped. I was very trapped growing up. I didn't learn how to express myself. And coming from an Aries, I'm a very fiery woman, but I was actually not living my embodiment of who I truly was. I was living completely opposite. And for me, when you live in a complete opposite, means you are disconnected from your essence or who you truly are. And so I guess that one of my missions is to learn how to connect to who I truly was. And that's what I've been doing through the entanglement, through the fun, through the craziness of the people I've met, the people that have taught me and showed me the way to Joyce.
That is so beautiful, because I feel a lot of people don't realize that they are disconnected from themselves, or they've abandoned themselves, or also They're not living their truth because they're living for someone, and they don't even realize that. Maybe they became a lawyer because that's what they were told they should do, but deep down they want to be an artist.
Of course.
Yeah, so you came to your truth. So what was that defining moment, that dark night of the soul that changed everything?
There was a huge pull inside of my soul. And there was like two sides of Joyce that were having conversations. One that was feeling the dreams, seeing the vision, knowing what she wanted to do. And the other one that was saying, no, she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. Your father wants you under his wing. You have to stay with the family business. You have to do what he says. You can't do this because this is wrong. This is right. That fight within myself brought me closer to, yeah, no, I have to do something about it. So that became chaos.
And at that moment, you were already successful
I
within
was.
business, right? Nothing, and you were being forced. You were doing really well.
Actually, I wasn't in the spiritual path. I was in a whole business entrepreneur path for a very long time, which was beautiful because my father was a very successful businessman and a very known man in Venezuela. And here in the US, he built some amazing companies, which I ran for years. So all of my business wisdom was taught by what I've learned with him and working with factories in China, factories in Italy, factories in Korea, and importing and exporting to the US, understanding licensings and how to like brand develop products and how to learn how to actually make money. Because my dad made money, my brother makes money, I make money, but I learned how to do that.
Right.
Actually, I wanted to be an artist. I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I wanted to sing. And so when I was 18, 17 years old, I actually started singing in a band and I was playing all over Miami in the bars. And that's what I really wanted to do. My desire to sing, which is my gift. So recognizing your gifts is one of the processes of actually stepping into your power, your business, your life, what you want to do. So at that time, it was just singing, but my father was not approving of the music business and how things were back in the 90s, let's say, going on stage, traveling, and the whole thing. And so I started covering my gifts or rejecting them because I felt that they were wrong. And so I stuck to what my father was saying that I should be doing. So the shoulds of what you should be doing versus the desires you get to do are two things you need to understand about yourself.
Yeah.
And I kept with the businesses and hustling and working nights and just working with factories and developing products and all kinds. I did products with handbags to perfumes to scooters and motorcycles. I got married at 21. I wanted to leave my house. I thought that that was a solution. Get married, leave, go outside. Something outside of me was going to give me my solution. So I did that. And I was entangled, right? I married an amazing man, but at that time I didn't realize that because I grew up in a very conflictive home. So conflict was love for me. So this man that I met was complete opposite. He was peaceful, but for me that was the definition of boring. So that was one of the entanglements that I had to deal with. I had two children, and when I was 24, I was about to give birth to my second child. My father, I walked into his company on the top floor, and they were all crying, and they just gave me the news. Joyce, I have cancer. I have a type of cancer called mantle cell lymphoma. 4% of the population gets it, and it's non-curable, and they gave me less than a year to live. And so that was like the breaking point. I freaked out. And I just, in my mind, I said, there has to be something more, which there is. Just we didn't know. We don't know about it. We're not well informed. We're caught up in the hustle that we don't get to listen to your podcast, for example, your business, which is informing people about that more. And so I didn't know where to go, who to reach, what to do. I needed someone to show me something, but at that time I didn't have access to that information. But we do have one very important thing, which is our soul. And so our soul is that guiding system that when our desire becomes so loud, it actually guides us to the unknown, to the next step that we need, that mentor that we need, or that advice we need to hear, or that opportunity that we need to step into. And so that's what happened. I was doing a facial, and next to the table, there was a little flyer that said, Heal Cancer. And it was a workshop. And I was like, this is it. But I'm here thinking of how I'm going to help my father. And what happened is that I ended up helping myself.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I went in there all the way without not knowing absolutely anything, just trusting what I felt. And that began with a dance with my soul. And I started learning about psychic surgeries, and I didn't know what the heck what that is. Then I met this other mentor about essential oils and plants. And then I went into alternative medicine for 2 years. And then I said, you know what? I want to go into psychology and mental health. So I went into my psychology degree and learning more about neuroscience of the brain and understanding how am I going to help my father? And then I just started helping myself over and over. And I understood how disconnected I was, and that not only was he ill, but I was ill. And I took responsibility. And that began my journey of over 25 years of doing this work, which is never ending. As we know, it's a never ending story, but it took me that. His cancer was my awakening.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that was like, whew. And I was learning about transformation, healing, and how I could help him, applying it with him and applying it with me and applying it with my friends. And so before I knew it, I had a practice going. And that practice grew. And then my friends would recommend and recommend. And so to say between my 20s and my 30s, I was working with my father, but at the same time, I had a little room and I was just doing healing work and transformation work. And this became my journey.
How beautiful.
And my father did not pass at a year. He passed at 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. And those 10 years, Susan, I learned so much about working with traditional therapies, with traditional medicine. I worked with the doctors in Sylvester Center about cancers. I understood what cancers and the types of cancers. I went really deep into the cells and what happens to the cell, how it has a charge, and that charge is called emotion, and that emotion transfers into the body, and how that the emotion, you have disease because it's already been in your energy for 10 years. And so I learned preventive medicine, and I learned how to help him let go. I understood so much about my culture, the Arabic women in my family, and how they were deprived sexually, they were abused physically, they were abused sexually, and all of that generational information and how it was affecting him. But not only that, it was affecting me. And at that time, I already had 2 kids. I needed to break that for my children, and it had to end now. So I took on that assignment from wherever that is, and I did the freaking work, and I'm still doing it.
They say the work never ends,
Never
right?
ends.
But it gets easier and it gets different.
It gets easier. You go into your Dharma.
Explain that.
So all these words, right, we're hearing nowadays about Dharma, karma, entanglements, pain, and all this stuff. But let's look at Dharma as a more happiness flow, right? Like a more joy. Can we live in more joy and more freedom and more expansion in our lives? So we're growing up with all of this information that we take on during our childhood years, whatever the experience may be. And then at one point in our life, we come into a crossroad where we need to make a decision. Hey, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And then all of these opportunities start showing up, maybe with a healer or with a therapist, traditional therapy, or whatever it is, retreat. And then when you start to do all this work and you start to reprogram and rewire your brain and your body and your cells and what perspectives are for you, what definitions are, and you start to understand that you're not your parents or how you grew up, you become and develop your own identity, and you start living in peace. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
To live in peace.
Yeah.
Look, you live in peace.
Yeah.
I want to live in calm and peace. And then you start to choose. You start to choose how you want to live. So Dharma to me is living your highest version at the moment, because you can live many high versions as you evolve, right? It's not like you reach your highest potential. Your highest potential is the one you're living in the moment. And if you're not, then it's time to study what's not working, what is working, tweaking, changing. As you evolve, you have less struggle, less pain. You learn how to live with all that chaos, without those entanglements anymore. But you live conscious and aware. What does that mean? Being awake to your own life, like understanding the speed of your conversation and the speed of your behavior, slowing down to see how that speed is going and what you're doing within that speed so your destiny can shift, and also living in integrity. I think that's one of my core values, is to live in integrity.
Yeah, mean what you say and say what you mean. And it's how we walk our walk.
Yeah,
and
not
talk
in
our talk.
perfection. There's no perfection.
Right.
It's making mistakes and taking responsibility, because that's how I've been successful.
Yeah. And I love the awareness is when you talked about you saw the healing from cancer. It is having the awareness, not seeing that and forgetting about it, but it resonated to look into it. So it's the awareness of seeing the signs.
Yes.
And the universe will keep knocking until you answer. And sometimes those knocks get harder and become painful because the universe is like, you didn't listen to me this time. I'm going to knock a little harder. Maybe this time you're going to break a finger.
Oh, no. And pain happens, or struggle happens, when you don't listen.
Yeah.
When you're saying yes to when you're feeling no, or when you're saying no when you're feeling yes. And when there's something that you're doing that doesn't flow and you keep pushing through, chaos will happen.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying about signs. Like, how many times are you going to see the same thing before you have to stop doing that?
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention. And one of these things that I've learned is like, it's no one's going to come save you. You know, me as a spiritual psychologist, I can help someone, or as a business mentor, I can help you and guide you. But at the end, you are responsible for that journey. You're responsible for your truth, your transformation, the way you speak, the way you act, the way you walk, the way you feel, and what you want.
Yeah.
So that's integrity for me. It's knowing that my words also match what I do in my life and how I live it and how I think it and how I act it.
Yeah, and integrity is very important. And I think a lot of people lose sight of it because they're forgetting about themselves, or they're not aware of how they're showing up, how they act, how they speak to people, whether it's strangers in the store, whether it's people in other cars, whether it's their friends or their family. They have to be more in awareness of how they're showing up.
And how they self-talk.
Yes, self-talk. Yeah. Those little voices in our heads that tell us bad things about ourselves.
And we all have them. We all have them.
And there's a lot of studies out right now about that self-talk. There's a lot of scientific studies being released in today's world about how you talk to yourself and even talk to your body can affect it, and how it resonates within your body. Your cells hear you.
And your words have frequency, and your whole entire inner system can hear your voice. So imagine if you turn on a radio and you're listening from an out information coming in, imagine the inside information, which is your voice, which is actually vibrating in a certain speed and in a certain frequency, because tone is a certain frequency. So if you're speaking negatively, you know, it's affecting your cells. And then when cells morph, disease
is what manifests.
Is manifesting.
Yeah.
So learning that in the best way possible, because we're not perfect. How many times do I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting older. I'm 48 now. And I'm like, oh my God, this and that and this and that. It's normal, guys. Don't be so perfect. Just be.
Just be. And you radiate and glow
Your energy.
in your beauty and your energy. Exactly. And then you'll see people that you say, they're not that attractive, but wow, what energy they have, because that energy makes you even more beautiful. So let's get into this modality of spiritual divorce.
So when my father got sick, I started to experience and educate myself, different modalities. And so I started cutting cords, and I was like, I got to cut cords with my dad. I got to cut cords with my dad. And then throughout this journey.
Explain that.
Yeah.
What is cutting cords?
Cutting cords meaning detaching from something that feels uncomfortable, or let's go even deeper. The definition is just like an energy cord that is transferring information. Like cord is like a web. So I began to study the spider web mechanism and how it works, right? So it's a perfect grid that happens, that who weaves it? The spider. She weaves her web, and then someone can pass and destroy it. She weaves it again. And so I was also studying how the web is in our energy. So our energy would be that web. And every time that I'm with you, I'm sharing your web with my web, and we're exchanging information. Now, there's different types of webs that I wrote on my book. There could be an invasive web when there's like a love affair, or there's huge intensity with mom or dad. So there's intensive chords, there's invasive chords. There could be a hovering chord, which you and I could probably have a hovering chord and it dissolves on its own. But what happens when two people or three or situations happen where an impact occurs? An impact means that something in your life hit your web and it affected your emotions, your energy, and left an imprint. And then what happens is, let's say you and I break up, you leave, but our webs could still be entangled. So I started to study more about that. And these cords were basically information with a story that kept transmitting to and from the situations or the crime scene, and that extend no matter where they are in the planet. So let's say you move to Spain and I'm in Miami, but I'm still thinking about you all the time. And I'm thinking about the issue that happened with us, and it doesn't want to go away. That means that we are completely entangled. And that is called quantum entanglements. That means particles who are magnetic come together and they twist. And so basically, it was so intriguing for me to understand it. And I started studying about quantum entanglements. And so I started to say, I can't cut a cord. I need to understand what's happening between Susan and I, break down the story, and understand what it's teaching me. And then it starts to dissolve, pulling it. So I want to pull my information out. It's like moving a neighbor from the neighborhood to another area. You no longer see it. You no longer feel it. It no longer impacts you. But until I don't learn what happened with you, something else will show up in my life to repeat itself.
This is so interesting because out there in the energetic world and in the spiritual world, there are energy healers that will do this cord cutting for you. So when you hear cords and cord cutting, envision an energetic cord between us. And that's what Joyce is describing. So we're cutting that energy off so it's not flowing back and forth. But what you're getting into, you can't just cut the cord. You got to get to the root. And what's so interesting is on a recent podcast in biohacking, everything was the root cause. The woman I was interviewing, she was obese and she wasn't going to heal until she could get to the root cause of why she had that weight.
Of course.
So with these entanglements, it's getting to the root of the entanglement. And what you're getting at is, so I could have had a romantic relationship, my ex-fiance, from 25 years ago. And if I'm still thinking about him and things are still coming up in my life from 25 years ago, there's still something between he and I that hasn't been taken care of. It hasn't been dealt with. It hasn't been seen and released.
Correct.
So we're
not integrated.
So we're not just energetically cutting cords. We're dealing with this personally and emotionally.
100%. 100%.
Why spiritual divorce?
So the word spiritual came on because it was a spiritual connection with your soul. There's a huge spiritual relationship with something bigger that's actually doing the work. Because I always say that I can't heal you. I'm a facilitator of this work. And I allow this divine energy to come through me to help you. And since you trust me, it works beautifully. Right. But you did the work. Right. You're your own guru. You are your own, you're the one that does the work within yourself. And I bring in this information and I help you activate and help you open yourself to your own truth. When I was working with my dad, I would hear in my head, I pull this energy out, like pull it out. And I actually felt relief, right? And I was like, oh, wow. I was like light-weighted. Wow, I just took pounds of weight off my energy. So then I started to release, but I started to understand what was the entanglement with my dad. And I started integrating. And that's when I said, okay, now I'm graduating slowly from this chapter of life with my father. And you can call it soul contract. And we have soul contracts with different people. Basically, it's like a contract, like a business agreement that you and I came to learn something together. Learn it. The most important thing is learn it so that you don't have to continuously repeat it. And believe me, you will always have something to transform. There's always a trigger.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Right?
We're here to learn these things. And I was going to ask you what you meant by integrating it, but I got it there when you said integrating is you saw things that were affecting the relationship with your dad. You understood why, what your role was and what his role was. And to integrate it, you didn't let it bother you anymore.
Correct.
You could react to it in a different way that was more positive for you. And that ways that you integrated it and made these changes. Because I always tell people, you can't change anyone else.
Can't.
And all you can change is how you react to them. So it was you that needed to change. You were there
It was me.
Yeah.
It's not in them. It was me.
Yeah.
I needed to change. But also scientifically, we're working with weight that the charge. So emotion, I call it emotional voltage in my book. If you have an emotion that's bothering you, anger, frustration, all of this is called emotional voltage. If you're carrying that charge or anger, there's actually charge around cells. So when you actually heal and neutralize a situation, that means that you've released the emotional charge and integrated it. That's how I don't feel angry anymore.
You don't feel anger anymore
towards a situation.
Right.
I can talk about it with no emotional charge, but the emotional charge also has something in my body because emotions have a chemical biological response. So in order to release that and neutralize that, you need to do something. You need to let it go. You need to release it. If you start holding it, then you create a holding pattern in your energy. And that's another thing that we wrote about. How am I going to help people break down that holding pattern that they have? How did they learn a specific behavior that they are actually doing every day in their life? How do we get to understand why that behavior is happening? So then I started to develop the mapping method and the templates. So each behavior and each experience creates a template, and you break it down by graphically seeing those highways of information and what they're actually communicating. So with my father, I learned that I grew up in a conflictive, loving, prosperous, scarcity home. Crazy, huh? But I learned it that way. So when I get another experience, I was craving for a peaceful relationship. But when the peaceful relationship came in, I rejected it. So I needed to understand where that rejection is coming from. Well, biologically, there was a lot of things I didn't know what it felt like. And people can tell you, man, if you have to feel it in the present moment, you have to feel it in your body in order to manifest or create that reality. But how about if you don't know how to do that? It's not in you. It's not in you. You weren't taught that. So the way that I wrote the book was to help people understand, okay, this is what's happened to me in my life. We're going to go from step A to step B so you can understand it, understand how things are bonded, and release it so that you can actually tell yourself a different story. And so that's how spiritual divorce came about. And divorce means to detach.
Detach.
To detach. Spiritually connect with myself, with my essence and God. And divorce meaning anything that I need to detach from myself. I need to release out of my life. And sometimes it's things that you love. Sometimes you got to detach with people, places, things that you love a lot. But you know that right now they're not serving you.
They're not serving you. Yeah.
But when you do, you know you're free. Does it hurt? Absolutely, it hurts. But freedom and success means you really have to do a cleanup of your emotions, your behaviors, people, places, things, so that you can make space in your life to bring in that success. And your entanglements are the number one challenge that don't allow you to make more money, don't allow you to create success in your life, and it do not allow you to have the life you are dreaming of consciously. Because in your conscious logical mind, you dream the dream, but your subconscious, which is 95% of who you are, doesn't allow you. So let's get in there. Get in there.
What's holding you back?
What's holding you back?
What I love about this, it's not therapy, just talk and talk and talk. We're dealing with getting to the root and releasing it.
We are.
We don't have to talk about it and all the pain and the trauma that happened. Let's identify it. Let's accept it. Let's release it. So let's get into, because you started to bring up success and business. Your latest venture, which is so exciting to me, is She CEO, because you are such a successful businesswoman and you are such a spiritual being. You've taken your modality, you've helped so many people, you've developed so much, you've written this book so you can help people in this one-on-one. Now you're bringing in that biggest business acumen to help people with their business, and not just healers, badass businesses. I'm so excited for what we're building for myself. So let's get into a little bit of She CEO.
So when I started with spiritual divorce, I was like focused on helping all kinds of people. Which is fine because this works for anyone and anything. I've seen over 1,500 clients in my career. I've worked with schizophrenics, with bipolar, with children, with men, with women, anything you can imagine. But then I started teaching my work, and I'm the type of person that I want to teach you, but I don't want to just teach you. I want to make you lead in the industry. And to me, that was like a blind spot that was happening in this spiritual community. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to help people lead. And I had a friend who's like a childhood friend. She goes, Joyce, why aren't you helping coaching? You're like one of the incredible business people that I've known. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's bridge it. Let's bridge science, spirituality, business. You can have it all type of mindset, because that's how I've always lived my life. I love my home. I have happiness, my joy. I have a partner that's amazing, children that are great. I have a great successful business. I have all the toys I want. Why cannot teach people what's working for me? So I brought in the business aspect. A lot of people don't know how to do it. So I said, okay, let me help you do it. But first, let me show you what you're going to be known for. I want you to know what your passion is. And if you make your passion your business, you will never have to work a day in your life. And I said, people ask me all the time, oh my God, your work is so cool. I'm like, I don't work at all. First of all, I believe that I want to have freedom of my time, freedom of movement, which means that if you invite me on a trip, I can go. I can move my schedule around, and freedom to do whatever I want monetarily, because I can do it. So why not show someone who's getting there, who has all the vision, all the dream, and maybe that's not their talent, get them structured. Be consistent. Got to show up. In my last class, we were talking about building the 2026 and getting rid of 2025. The first thing I said, I can have a migraine, I can have high fever, I will show up to my commitments. And I think that a lot of people get like bored, and they're just very flowy. And it's good to be flowy. It's good. Okay. But it's good to be structured. Because if you want, how bad do you want it? How do you want to be successful? I have people that are like, oh, I just want 10 grand a month. 10 grand a month. That's a little. Think bigger.
Yeah.
Think bigger. And I don't want this, oh, money. No, money is an exchange. Money is a frequency, just like love is. We need to put it together and operate from the heart so that money doesn't become your God. Money is just that extra value that is taking you to wherever you want to go. It's a frequency. People do not buy your products. People are buying your energy.
Yeah.
So fix it and let's build it. From a place of integrity and a place of, okay, now I can get rid of what I am carrying so I can make space for the things that I want to create. So yeah, this business is amazing. I love it because I've always been in business. I've done business since I was a little girl. My dad showed me since we're 15. I meet the most amazing women who are boss babes and who also want it. And you know what I love about this work is that I get to choose who I want to work with, Susan. I get to choose, and I get to dismiss who I don't, because I can and because I am very jealous with my energy. And being jealous, it's not that I'm jealous of someone. No, it's I care for me, my space. And that is my currency. And so I sit with you, I analyze you, I audit your life, I audit your business, I audit what your dreams are. If you have a business, I help you transform it, and I take you to the steps. And if you don't, we start from scratch, from understanding where you are, what you want, and where we want to be. And we make it work because I'm an action taker. I want to make sure that things are done and you are achieving your dreams. And that's how it all began. So She CEO started because all these women who needed help. And so I said, you know what? I want you part of my association, but I want to see you lead in my association. I don't want you to just stay behind the scenes. I want you to show up and show me who you are. We're all so different. Let's do it. I want to see your gifts. I want to see you expand. I want to see you share with the world. And so together we become She CEO, an orchestra of amazing women who want to succeed in life and in business. And that's how we do it. Because I always say that there's always a woman in the room who you need and a woman that needs you. And that's how it all came about. And I'm in the beginning stages of it, and I'm having a great time. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
I love that because you've created a community of women that are on different paths, but a similar trajectory. We're all headed forward and up and to lead. And you're bringing us together to do that, but you're also giving opportunities. Within She CEO, you can teach a course, you can speak at one of her events. And I think that's great because it's giving the experiences that we need while on the side and in the back, you're helping them build. And you even have a whole platform for the people that don't know how to do the online system. You have a whole program that they can just pay for and have help having everything done.
I have a team, because you need teams. For those of you who are doing things on your own, that's not going to get you where you want. You have to, number one, everyone, even I've invested in mentors, people who are doing it, and in structure. I automate everything. So for me, I used to be the operator, the virtual assistant, the healer, the one that cleaned the floors. I used to do it all, and that's fine. But we need to grow. And in order to do that, you have to hire people. And so I have an incredible team that I've worked for years. I even have a social team. I have a team that operates and my team said, why don't you just become an agency as well and help these women get on your programs and slowly support them so they grow as well. So I did. I created that software, which allows you to have your whole entire business within the software. And I'm not like advertising it to everyone. And basically it's the people who I'm working with, and they could use that for themselves to grow.
Yeah.
So your newsletters and your text messages and your community, because I need to make sure you know about what I'm doing. But I'm not going to text 5,000 people at the same time. I'm going to send one text that's programmed 5 times so that everyone receives it.
This is such valuable information. And I think that is the greatest thing is that
you do it one time.
Yeah. You have everything set up for them. Because if not, you're going to be paying for this program and that program and this app and that thing. And then the next thing you know, you're like, which program did I do that on? And this is just all in one place.
And so that's what when I audit people and I give them a strategy session, everyone's like, okay, I'm paying Calendly here, $30-$40 a month. Then I have funnels, which is about 100. Then I have another one that's not this. This is going to eliminate all of that.
Yeah.
Save you money. Okay. And you can just operate from one system. So like I tell people, it's not a software that you're either coming into, you're actually creating a business, a place where you can create a membership because you want to scale, a retreat that you want to scale, a product that you want to scale. I've developed essential oil lines. I'm even working with a chef. I'm working with wellness people. I'm working with different communities, different products, but you want to scale at the end, you want to scale.
Yeah.
Even if you're selling real estate, you want to scale. I make money when I'm in vacation. So that's the idea. How can I make money when I'm on vacay or when I'm having lunch with a friend?
Passive income.
Passive income.
Yeah. So see, she's bringing all these skills, all this knowledge together. And that's what we need. There are people out there to help you. And that's why we're here on this podcast. We're showcasing things like this. First of all, there's another way of finding yourself and your happiness. And then there's an easier way to get things done.
And yes, and with energy work, no matter who you choose to work with, it's, at least for what I do, it's like 20 years of traditional therapy in one session. I studied psychology. I know what traditional therapy is, but there was a blind spot, and that's getting people into a different state of consciousness, working with brainwaves and moving somatic bodies and understanding that your emotions and your stories are stuck in your body. And that's going to give you speed, which means that you're speeding up your destiny to get to where you want to go with less traffic lights and less turns and less roadblocks. That's what alternative work, which is not really alternative, it's real, is the key. And what you're doing with your podcast and your work is really sharing the directory of ways where you can get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And how can you discern which person, which healer you want to go to, is by really tapping into your feeling and your connection. That's your system connected to many ways. We're all different. And that is why I love what you're doing. It's opening and expanding other people's ideas of what this work is about.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for the work that you are doing for us as healers and as therapists, but also for people who are actually learning and being introduced to what this work is about. It's so important. There's so much to learn. I love it. I love it. So much to learn.
And I love that every time I have someone on, something new comes out, but then always some things resonate from the past, because all of these tools and all of these modalities, they're all for the same purpose, right? Transformation and healing and a better life. So it's so beautiful. Just like religion can all have the same paths to God, it's that all these modalities, that they have all the same path to healing.
And at the end, to me, my path is to be happy. I want to live whatever time I have on this planet as fully and happy as I can be. I don't care about the rest of the stuff. Yeah, I can have all kinds of stuff. Material this, material that, buy this, buy that. Yeah, it's great. I love material stuff too. I get to do that because I'm happy. And I think peace is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Because without peace or health, you can't even enjoy what you're working for. So start doing and start being. And when you become more in tune with who you are, the rest doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. So spiritual to divorce yourself. Untangle your life to thrive and succeed, and pick whoever you want to choose with your directory. I love it. It's great. Thank you. Thank you.
So here on the SageFull Living podcast, we talk about living a life aligned. So what are some of your daily practice that keep you aligned?
Okay, so a lot of, like, my husband tells me I don't sleep anymore. I wake up like 5:30 in the morning. My body already responds to that command. I can't do that anymore because from 5 to 8, I have meditated for an hour. I've had my coffee. I've gone to the gym, and I have aligned with how I want to be. So I stage my day consciously and purposefully. So I want to do everything that I can to feel the best that I can in my day. And right now, look, we're here doing that. We've done so many things. I've meditated, I've gone to the gym, and I've already set myself for success. So every day I meditate. If I don't meditate, if I skip a day, I already miss it. I've gotten to the point where now I do meditate for 1 hour, but if you can meditate for 10 minutes, that's already aligning yourself to a higher consciousness. So I do this every morning. I catch myself speaking wrongly to myself sometimes. And so I purposefully tell myself, correct myself. We're here to correct. That's what Earth is about. Correcting your behaviors, correcting your thoughts, correcting your words, correcting your environment. And the more you clear, the more you're going to resonate with something different.
Yeah.
So yes, sageful living is very important. Living in alignment is good. And that means really choosing what you want and what you don't want.
Yeah. And living by your words.
Your words.
Yeah. Staying what you mean and meaning what you say.
Yeah. I love it.
Integrity, alignment, and integrity, I think, are entwined.
Yes. Entangled. They're actually entangled. Yeah, they are. They're very much, they're side by side for sure.
Beautiful. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Love it.
So if you want to work with Joyce, she's going to offer a 10% discount to our listeners. Just mention the Sage for Living podcast when you reach out to her. Everything will be in the show notes, but she can offer a 10% discount on her one-on-one sessions. JoyceHaddad.co. You'll find out everything about She CEO. Spiritual Divorce, the book, it can be found
On Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, everywhere online.
everywhere. And this is not just about divorcing people or individuals. This is about yourself. This is your self-work and divorcing your past and divorcing what's holding you back. So this isn't about relationships. This is about the self.
And if they need a strategy session, I'm also open to giving them a free strategy session.
Free strategy session. Do that. If you are starting a business, you have a business, you need a little help and a little direction, reach out to Joyce.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.